All right, welcome to the Design Review Commission. Welcome to the Design Review Commission, Wednesday, July 7th at a little after 7 o'clock. First item is to establish a quorum. It looks like we have all of the commissioners here tonight. So I'll repeat your name, and if you could just say aye. Sam Harding.
Here.
Jude Kirk.
Aye.
David Blockus.
Here.
Michael Ma.
Here.
And Frank Bishop. So we have the full commission available for the projects tonight. So before we get on to the public comments not on the agenda, I was asked to make an announcement, which is I need to recuse myself from the 61 Coronado Avenue project because my home is within 500 feet of the project. So with that, I would like to make a motion. I would like someone to make a motion that would change the order tonight, that we would do 587 Van Buren first and do 61 Coronado second, to allow me to participate in the first project and then be able to leave the meeting. So would one of the commissioners want to make a motion to that?
I'll do it, Frank. I move that we move item number 3 to item 2 position and item 2 to item 3 position to allow for the Chairman Bishop to be excluded for the Coronado discussion.
All right, thanks, Sam. Could someone second that, please?
I'll second it.
Oh,
Okay, thank you. I guess also we'll just call the roll on this too. So Sam?
Aye.
To the motion?
Aye.
Jude?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Michael?
aye.
And myself, aye. Okay, thank you. So the order has been changed. So the next item here on the agenda is the...
Chair Bishop, I have a question, just maintenance issue.
Yes, please.
When we get to the new item 3 on 61 Coronado, we will have 4 commissioners present and voting on that. What is the number needed to have the item either passed or not passed or whatnot? If I can get
a majority of, I believe a majority of the 4. Is that correct, Guido?
Yeah, you need 3 commissioners to
So
make
still
an affirmative
3-1.
vote. So
Right. And David Blockus is the vice chair. So I am assuming that you will lead that portion of the meeting, David. Yes?
that's
Correct.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So back to the agenda. And the next item here is the consent calendar. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna back up. Public comments. So Guido, do we have any public comments or people that want to speak to an item that's not on the agenda tonight?
I don't believe so, Chair Bishop, but let me just verify. Is there anybody on the item? Is there anybody on the call who wants to speak on an item not on the agenda? And if you're not speaking, if you could mute yourself.
Okay. No. So hearing none, I'll close that section of the meeting, and then move on to the consent calendar, where we have one item tonight, which is the meetings from the minutes from our meeting of June 2nd. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the meetings of the meeting minutes of June 2nd, please?
I'll do it. I move that we to approve the Design Review Commission meeting minutes from June 2nd.
Second.
Thank you, Michael. Would someone second that? Thank you.
Second,
Okay.
Sam.
Okay. Thank you, Sam. So with that, I guess we'll also go through the roll. So Sam, I guess
Aye.
you read it. Okay. Thank you. Jude.
Aye.
David.
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
And myself. So, okay, great. Thank you very much, everyone. So now we're going to move down to the discussion items, and the first one will be item 3, which is SC 210019, 587 Van Buren Street. And Sean, do you have a report to share with us on that project?
Yes, good evening, Chair Bishop and Commissioners. The project before you is a design review application for a second-story addition and remodel to an existing multi-level house with an exposed basement. The project includes an addition of 250 square feet on the second story. The lower floors will be maintained with no proposed alterations or additional floor area. The subject property is located in a diverse character neighborhood as defined in the city's residential design guidelines. The property is located at the end of the street extension of Van Buren, the front yard facing a shared driveway along the southern property line facing the house at 586 Van Buren. The left and rear yards of the property are adjacent to Adobe Creek, and there's a mixture of 1- and 2-story houses in the neighborhood. Along the rear of the property is Adobe Creek, and now the house is designed to be consistent with the development standards for the R110, or the addition is designed to be consistent with the development standards for the R110 district. The red hatched area is location of the changes or modifications to the house. The proposed minor modification to the existing 2-story house includes enclosing an existing balcony along the rear elevation into habitable condition floor area. Currently, the balcony has a series of doors and windows that face onto the balcony. The applicant proposes to enclose that space. We will incorporate 6 windows along the rear elevation, 1 glass door along the left elevation, and 1 2-panel sliding glass door along the right elevation. The proposed balcony enclosure continues the kind of modern architectural design style. The proposed balcony enclosure is designed to be integrated into the existing house design by maintaining consistent materials, proportion, and scale. The windows maintain a consistent size and style as the existing house, and the windows maintain the composition of the architecture. The overall enclosure of the existing balcony into habitable condition space does not create an abrupt change and is well integrated into the design. The project to enclose the balcony along the rear elevation, due to the slope, the project proposed to enclose the balcony along the rear elevation and the addition of the 6 windows along the rear, the 1 glass door, staff does not believe will create significant privacy concerns. This occurs due to the sloping nature of the site. This enclosed area is proposed to provide a habitable area. However, it will be facing a creek, which will limit privacy potential impacts along the rear and left side. The project has a setback of 23 feet to the right side property line, 163 feet to the left side property line. And due to the overall topography placement of the addition, the existing mature trees along the creek, and the existing mature trees on the site, staff does not believe the proposed alterations to the existing structure will create significant privacy issues. This concludes staff's presentation unless there are any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sean, for the presentation. Do any of the commissioners have questions of Sean?
No.
No.
I actually have some quick question. Chair?
Okay, Michael, please.
Okay, yeah, all right. Just some administrative number shown, I mean, for the setback. Sean, I'm looking at the A1, just some number doesn't match or doesn't make sense. The existing front setback, I know we are not changing the front. Is it just 8'9"? And then I know there's no scope of work, but and then also the rear and then the side, I know the rear setback doesn't change either. And then the right side, I don't know, I'm just trying to see, there's some numbers, doesn't seem correct. And then on your staff report, page 1, the setback also doesn't match the one on A1. I know it's maybe just some clerical or discrepancy, I just want to make sure. And then the right side, I'm still trying to figure out. Can you take a look, Sean?
So what is the question, I guess, if you could clarify?
Sorry. Yeah.
So the site is a non-conforming site. A portion of the house on the right side is located in the front setback and encroaches into the public right-of-way. And it's an irregular shaped lot. As indicated in the staff report, it is a non-conforming house. However, they are not modifying more than 50% of the existing structure. And the portion of the structure that's being modified, which is located along the rear, does comply with setback standards for the district.
Okay. So basically, all the setback number existing and proposed, they should be the same, right? They are not, changing any setback.
No, they're not changing any setback.
Okay. I just want to make sure I understand. Okay. All right. Thank you. That's what I had. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Michael. So, Sean, do we have the owner or the architect to give a presentation next?
Yes, the architect Walter Chapman is present, and you can speak about it if you'd like.
Hey, Walter, it's Frank. Did you want to?
Yeah, Frank, I don't have a whole lot to say here other than to give a little background for the other commissioners. A single-story addition and remodel was added to the front of this house 2 or 3 years ago. And it was a long process because of the irregular shape of the lot. Originally, they had other designs proposed, and we finally decided to simplify it to a single-story addition on the front, which has been completed. Since living in the house, they've noticed that the back balcony just collects a lot of debris and dust and really wasn't useful. And so their desire was to enclose that back balcony to create additional living space for the 2 bedrooms. And we did so by maintaining small areas of balconies off of each of those sitting rooms, primarily for egress. Like I say, it doesn't change the footprint of the building. Actually, it reduces privacy impact on anyone because we're enclosing the balcony. Currently, it has a guardrail at about 3 to 3.5 feet high and a header at 8 feet high. So all we're doing really is filling in the wall between the current balcony and the current header and leaving windows for light. So it, again, has no impact on any neighbors. So main reason we're here tonight is because the balcony is on a 2nd floor. And because it's on a 2nd floor, it needed to go through the Design Review Commission. So if you have any questions for me, I'm not sure if the owner's even listening in tonight.
Okay, Walter. Thanks for the briefing on that. Do any of the commissioners have a question for the architect?
No.
Actually, I have one. Sorry, now I understand why I got confused a little bit. It's just a very small one. So on the architecture drawing, Walter, the architect, under the what do you call that? The square footage or the setback at the bottom of the drawing, the existing front setback is 8.9. But you put proposed 25 feet. That's why I got confused because there's no work.
The proposed was a holdover from the original front submittal.
I see.
It should have been just listed as existing because that addition was from the previous set of plans. I apologize. Whenever you're changing and modifying drawings on CAD, you have to be very careful that you check every single note.
Yeah. Okay. It's just a minor one. I just want to, make sure. Okay. No problem. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Michael. Good questions. Any other questions from the commissioners?
None.
Okay. Thank you. Guido, do we have any one from the public to speak on this project tonight?
I don't believe so, but there was only one person unaccounted for who I've asked twice to identify, Wang,
All right.
Wang N.
He's the owner.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm the owner. Sorry,
Okay. Did you want to speak tonight on your item, sir? You don't have to if you don't want. It's your decision.
No, we're fine. We're fine.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay,
I
thanks, Guido.
believe that's
Okay,
it.
so
Chair
there are
Bishop.
no other people from the public. Okay. All right, thank you. Then we'll close the public comment section on the project, and I'll turn it over to the commission for discussion at this point. Any discussion amongst the commissioners? Sam, did you want to maybe lead this off?
Yeah, I mean, it's such an interesting lot, and I understand from the designer and the owner that they're trying to maximize their usage, and I think you have, and I like the creativity of the things that you did. So I'm in favor of the project.
All right, thanks, Sam. Jude, did you want to add something?
Not much. All I would say is I remember the project from last time around, and it was very confusing back then in terms of setbacks and easements. And so we've been on that cul-de-sac, whatever you want to call it, a private driveway, a few times. And this project is very straightforward. It's enclosing existing space. So I have absolutely no concerns with privacy or other impact. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay, great, thank you. David?
Yeah, no concerns.
Thank you. Michael, any further questions or concerns?
No, no concern. I mean, in favor of the project, the impact to the surroundings is very minimal. So no problem at all.
Okay, thanks, Michael. And I would agree with the commissioners. It's very straightforward as far as a second-story project. So I would be in favor of it as well. And with that, I guess I'll turn back to the commission and see if someone would like to make a motion on the project, please.
I will approve design review application SC 21-0019, subject to the findings and conditions.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second, I second.
Okay, was that Michael?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Okay, with that, we'll just call the roll with yay or nay. Sam?
Aye. Yay.
Yeah. Jude?
Yay.
David?
Yay.
Michael?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Frank Bishop votes in approval of the project as well. So congratulations, project approved. Good luck with it, and enjoy the home with the enclosed porch.
Thank you.
Okay, now with that, I believe this is the point where I will turn this over to David. Is that correct,
Yep.
Guido? This is
Yes.
the point where I can do that.
That is correct.
So with that, I'll conclude my presence for the evening, and I will hand the virtual gavel, I guess that's what we call it, over to David Blockus to continue the meeting with the project on 61 Coronado Avenue. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Frank.
All right.
Great, thank you, Chair Bishop. We'll give you a couple seconds to turn off and log off or whatnot. So next up on the consent calendar is item now number 3, SC 21-0016, the property located at 61 Coronado Avenue. If I could ask Sean to go ahead and give us the review of that.
Good evening, Vice Chair Blockus and Commissioners. The project before you is a design review application for a new 2-story house with a basement. Try to get this to move. Here we go. The project includes 2,290 square feet at the first story, 1,754 square feet at the second story, 821 square feet in the basement. This slide provides a schematic rendering of the proposed 2-story house. Subject property is located on Coronado Avenue between North San Antonio Road and Cherry Avenue. The surrounding neighborhood is considered consistent character as defined in the city's residential design guidelines. Characteristics are derived from similar styles and streetscape character. The homes in the immediate neighborhood context are a combination of 1- and 2-story houses, with 2-story houses at 24 Coronado, 40 Coronado, 41 Coronado, and 74 Coronado Avenue. The residents in the neighborhood have lower scale horizontal eave lines with wall plates that appear between 8 to 9 feet, garages that face the street, and the neighborhood character appears to be consistent with rustic materials, similar houses of scale and roof forms. The house is designed to be consistent with the development standards of the R110 zoning district. The proposed 2-story house has a traditional style that uses design elements and materials that are compatible with the existing house by utilizing gable roof forms, dormer windows, recessed front porch with columns, and high quality materials that are compatible with the neighborhood. These materials include a new shingle siding, smooth stucco, wood-clad aluminum wood frame windows with trim and details, copper OG downspouts, which staff believe is compatible with the style and is related to the surrounding area. The project is in keeping with the scale of the structure found in the neighborhood. The proposed 9-foot tall first floor wall plates is consistent with the 8 to 9 foot tall plates in the neighborhood. An 8-foot second story wall plate, staff does believe is concealed within the elevation along the front elevation and is minimized by the use of covered patios along the left and the rear elevations. The residential design guidelines recommends minimizing the use of taller 2 stories high walls to avoid or to reduce the vertical massing of elevations. The right elevation does have a large expansive wall, which may be perceived to contribute to overall massing. Consistent with the residential design guidelines, the applicant has proposed to reduce the appearance of bulk through the use of shingle siding, which is considered a softer material that that is consistent with reducing the overall scale. It also provided some variation of wall plane through the use of variation, and the applicant proposed increasing the right side second story setback to 19.4 feet, where a 17.5-foot setback. Therefore, with these modifications, staff does believe with the combined evergreen screening along the side and rear property lines, that overall bulk will be reduced. On the left side of the second story, there are 5 windows. As designed, the master bedroom and master bathroom window sill heights and potential views are obscured, and windows do not create unreasonable privacy impacts. Due to the lower sill heights in bedroom 2 and the hallway windows, there may be perceived privacy impacts to neighboring properties. To ensure that there are no additional privacy impacts, the applicant is proposing fast-growing evergreen screening along the side and rear property lines to maintain a reasonable degree of privacy. On the right side of the second story, there are 4 small windows with 4.5-foot sill heights. The window sill heights and the potential views are obscured by evergreen screening shrubs, and the windows, staff believes, do not create unreasonable privacy impacts. Along the rear second story elevation, there are 2 windows and French doors with side lights. The project also includes a balcony on the rear elevation off the master bedroom, sliding door. The balcony is 12.9 feet and primarily faces, and by 5 feet deep, and primarily faces the left side and rear yard. The balcony does not comply with the 4-foot minimum depth per the residential design guidelines, and it's considered active in use or active in nature. Due to the balcony being 24 feet from the left property line and 71.75 feet from the rear property line, staff believes the potential impacts are reduced for neighboring properties. Furthermore, the proposed evergreen screening along the side and rear property lines, the existing mature redwood trees along the rear property line will further contribute to a reasonable degree of privacy. To ensure no additional privacy impacts occur, staff recommends reducing the balcony to a maximum depth of 4 feet, which is condition number 3, and therefore is designed with rear-facing windows and with recommended conditions. Staff does believe the project maintains a reasonable degree of privacy. There are 11 trees on the property, and the project proposed to retain the tree. A list of those trees are provided in sheet A1. Since the project includes a new house, a new landscaping area that exceeds 500 square feet, it is subject to the water efficient regulations, and a condition for compliance with water efficiency is required in the conditions of approval. Overall, staff believes the existing and proposed landscaping meets the intent of the city's landscape regulations and street tree guidelines. This concludes staff's presentation. Unless there are any questions, thank you.
Great, thank you, Sean. Commissioners, any questions for Sean?
Yeah, Sean, this is Sam. I could not download all of the files on that PDF. I got one or two, and then it would kick me back to the city website, and I couldn't get it. So I'm just thinking that we're going to be moving forward to in person, and maybe that we'll be able to get hard copies of plans at that point.
Guido, is it possible if Commissioner Harding wants hard copies that he can be provided them, or they can?
Yeah, I'm working with the city clerk on that because we're still kind of following kind of what the other commissions are doing. But in this case, absolutely, Commissioner Harding, if you need the hard copy, we can make it available. So
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know until yesterday, so
yeah,
I couldn't get it to download.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Sean? I will take that as a no. So we'll go ahead and close that out. Do we have well, the architect is here. Does the owner want to speak, or the architect, or who's going to speak?
I would like to speak and do a quick presentation on the design of the house. I actually have an active camera over my drafting table, so I'm going to take you for a quick house tour.
Okay.
The reason I'm doing that is there's concerns that the homeowner asked me to incorporate when designing the home, and I'll get to those as I go along. We have a covered front porch. We have a decent sized foyer, but a very modest living room. The idea of the living room is more of a sitting room, music room, separate from the other activities of the home. You then have a staircase that goes both up and down with a U-shaped stairs. In line with the stairwell, then as you turn left, is the dining room. You turn left again and you look into the kitchen. And to the right, there's a patio, covered patio in the backyard. Continuing from the dining room is the family room. And between the family room and the garage is a combination mudroom and pantry. That is the main living space of the home. What we then have back here is a hallway leading back to an office that could also be used as a guest bedroom, coat closet, and powder room. Now, when we get upstairs, the stairs themselves take a certain amount of space for the treads, the landings, and rise and run. And what we have a landing at the top of the stairs that then leads a hallway back to the master bedroom. The master bedroom is situated above the family room, the bathroom above the garage, a bedroom above the kitchen, a bedroom above the dining room. And this is where the request of the homeowner comes into play, is they have 3 young girls, ages basically 3, 5, and maybe 8. The owner can clarify. So what we have is a hallway that leads back to what would be the oldest daughter's bedroom with another bath and an upstairs laundry room, because we don't have one downstairs, being that all the clothes will be upstairs. So that was very important to this homeowner that they have a bedroom for each of their daughters upstairs. Now, that created a certain challenge for me architecturally. As you know, with the elevations, as you've seen the renderings, we have provided covered porches and single-story elements around most of the house. When I originally designed the home, I had also proposed a single-story porch on the right elevation that was identical to the single-story porch at the garage side, so that we could mitigate that two-story wall mass. And it was consistent with the architecture I was using around the house. What we realized, though, is the covered porch here was going to cut sunlight to their basement, and the owner also wanted to have a vegetable garden on that side yard, which led to us removing the porch. And instead, we put in windows, a light well, and a vegetable garden. This also created a low-use activity yard next to the neighbor's property. Whereas if we had a covered porch, it would be a more of an active use yard. So we felt that by eliminating the covered porch here, putting in a vegetable garden, that would be actually more respectful of the neighbor's space. Now, another alternative that I've come up with at this point, because we know the neighbor's concerned about this mass, is to add a more architecturally interesting porch on the side yard. This would do a great deal to mitigate the two-story wall mass. It would add architectural interest on the side yard. However, it does reintroduce an active side yard use. So another alternative I came up with, and I'm presenting all these to you because I want you to see we'd like to accommodate the neighbor's concern about this massive wall, is to do a pop-out on the second-story floor, 1 foot on the laundry room and bathroom, to break up the wall planes of the upper floor wall. Now, what is important to know is there is currently a 9-foot hedge between these two properties that will basically make the majority of this wall completely invisible from the neighbor's yard and house. This hedge is at 9 feet and could very easily be groomed and grown to 12 feet. So if it becomes a 12-foot high hedge, there's actually no visibility of this wall any longer. But we still feel that some articulation on that second-story wall would be a pleasant feature for what portion is visible. So we're more than happy to accommodate various ways of mitigating the massive wall aspect with either single-story elements or upper floor alterations. The most critical thing to my client, though, is having a 4th bedroom upstairs to accommodate one of their daughters. So what we have proposed is we're open to any of these kind of solutions to help soften and mitigate that wall, which was originally my intent. The neighbors, they're right now have voiced a concern about this wall and the height of the structure itself. But I would like to point out that it's at 19 feet, 5 inches from the property line. It meets the daylight plane. It has passive windows, which do not create privacy concerns for the neighbor. This is very consistent with designs that have been approved by the DRC over the last decade. And we just would appreciate the commissioners to keep in applying a consistent approach to these type of situations, which is having a screening issue primarily that we would think we could work out with the neighbor with the height of the hedge. And hopefully we can keep it as simple as that. The homeowner would like to speak for just a moment to her personal needs.
Okay, go ahead.
If we could have Annie Sood speak, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, commissioners. I'm Annie Sood. I'm the homeowner along with my husband, Gaurav, of 61 Coronado. We love the street and we love Los Altos, and we've tried to design a home that really fits in with the quiet, the beautiful streetscape of Coronado with its canopy trees and charming variated houses. We gave a lot of thought to incorporating within the street. And architecturally, we did choose a 2nd story with 4 bedrooms on the top floor, as Walter mentioned, because I have 3 young children. Even just last night, my 3-year-old was up in the middle of the night sobbing. The big bad wolf was in her bedroom, and I spent the night in her toddler bed. And the one comfort that I had in the middle of the night is that I was right there with her when she was crying. And so for me, it is, I've tried to think of a way to articulate this, but the best way that I can come up with is that any house that we move into, whether it's the most opulent house in the world, it will never be home if I'm not near my young children. For as long as they want to be near me, I hope to have a home that encourages that. And that is exactly why we chose a second floor. We tried to set it back, and we tried to allay any privacy concerns. And we've listened carefully to neighbors, and will continue to do so. So thank you for your time. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much. We'll go ahead and close that off. Commissioners, do you have any questions for the architect or the owner?
None.
Michael, Jude, anything?
Jude, you're.
Thanks. Sorry about that. Walter, can you clarify? I'm curious about the living room in front, the scale and the proportions. It's a narrow room, 12 feet wide, 12-foot plate height, smaller room. The windows are down low. What's the thinking in that room? Talk me through that a little bit.
Basically, that is to have a formal sitting room independent from the activity area of the house. And the owners didn't want to have an oversized living room because it wouldn't get used much, and they wanted the space for the family areas. The elevation of the height of that wall, we've played around with it up and down, but part of its purpose is it helps to mitigate the rest of the structure behind it. It actually is a very softening element by having that. If you look at the renderings, you can see that the scale and massing of that is really not ill proportioned when you see it on a rendering. That's computer generated. It's all accurately scaled. But what it does do is it helps to counterbalance the dormer above the garage, creating the 3 dormers. And the height of this roof helps to mitigate the second-story wall behind. So as you work around the renderings, virtually it helps. Oops, I don't know what I did there. There we go. I'm using my wrong control. I got too many devices on my desk. Here it is. Here it is. So you can see from this angle, it completely mitigates the second-story massing. However, from this angle, it helps balance the house. You can imagine if it wasn't there, then the house is kind of lopsided. So playing with scale and mass was a big part of it. And the other thing is they didn't want to allocate a lot of their square footage to a big living room. And so that's how we ended with the scale.
Well, I'm mostly talking about the height of the plate there. You have a 12-foot plate where the rest of the plates in the house are 9 feet. So I'll get to that in commentary. I'm also curious about the porch on what would be, I guess, the western side, the one that's kind of between off the mudroom.
Yes.
It would seem a porch that large would be more appropriate being off the family room. So once again, kind of curious, it sounds like you're adding porches to mitigate the impact of 2-story walls, but is that really
we're doing multiple things with that space. What you have right now is a family with young children. And those young children, as they grow, the needs around the house will change. What this gives them for right now is a place where the kids can bring their bicycles and they can park their bicycles on the covered porch and come into the mudroom. And in the back part of the covered porch, they're thinking of screening that in and using it like a garden tool shed room to put rakes and shovels and gardening equipment in. In the future, if need be, it could be used as a carport for a third car. So the purpose of this roof, this covered patio on the side, is multi-aspected to serve their needs at different times as their children and family needs change. It happens to have the benefit of screening the second story wall line on that side as well. So that's how we got there.
Okay, and then my last question, it's regarding the vegetable garden on the east side of the property. Just kind of, once again, I'm kind of curious. You showed some porches, but you said they want to put the vegetable garden there. And in my experience, the east north
Interesting
side.
enough, that came about at a later time in the process of design. When they started working with the landscape architect, they realized that where the pool was, the lawn was, the patio was, they didn't have any place for a vegetable garden, which they wanted to have at least a modest one. And that brings us back to the issue of having a covered porch here, because we get the morning sunlight coming in from the southeast. And as the sun comes overhead, it'll eventually be blocked by the two-story wall, which will cut the heat of the afternoon sun. So they're going to have to choose which vegetables grow well with morning sun instead of hot evening sun. But that was one of the reasons the porch disappeared initially, was because it gave them some gardening area. But like I say, we can put the porch back in if it helps to solve the mitigation aspect of the wall. We also liked having the light well on this side for the basement because it got better sunlight into the basement. These blue lines, by the way, reflect where the windows are on the upper floor, so that we designed the house to look into its own yard from the upper floor.
Thanks. That's it.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll close that off. Guido, public comment? We have a few people.
Yeah, we have 1, 2. I believe we have 2 people. So
okay, we'll go ahead and call them up. And I just want to remind public comment, you're allowed up to 3 minutes for your commentary.
Yes. Let me unmute 75 Coronado. Go ahead, you can speak now.
Okay. Yeah, hi, my name is Chris Ida, is my wife Tintin. Yeah, the main concern we have is on the landscaping plan. So on the west side of the house, there's T1 that's proposed. There's two T1s, and they're fast-growing Victorian box trees that can reach a height of 30 feet. So I think those are done for privacy, but the impact it'll have to us is cutting the light to our kids' bedrooms, but also more importantly, we have solar that we installed just about a month ago on our east roof. And those trees, when they get mature, will basically shade those panels, or actually we're almost right next to the panels. So that's the main concern we have, and hopefully that's a pretty simple one to address. So our request is either not to have trees there or have trees that are low, that are not going to impact the solar.
Okay, great, thank you. Guido, second group?
Yeah, the second person is Daniel Fisher, 51 Coronado, and I'll unmute him now. So go ahead, Mr. Fisher.
Okay, thank you. So we're Daniel and Tessa Fisher. We've lived next door for 14 years, I think it is now. So we apologize first for the bringing up major issues at a rather late date. But unfortunately, the only outreach to us or to any of the other neighbors that we know of was a mailing late April, which had a picture of the house from the street. The picture you were shown also. And unfortunately, that picture turned out to be very deceptive. It showed what looked like a modest second floor, so we didn't think we would have any issues with the house, a house at all, and so there was no further outreach. When we then saw the plans, we were really taken aback. Almost everything was at the maximum allowed for the house. We reached out then a week ago to the owners because we wanted to avoid having a confrontational meeting now. The only thing that was done after that was a meeting with the architect, with Walter Chapman today, and also with Chris and Tintin. So we haven't yet had the chance to meet Annie and Gaurav. So nice to meet you finally, and we look forward to welcoming you to the neighborhood. So unfortunately, the problem is from our side of the house. This is on the west side of our house. That's where our kitchen is and where our main living area that we spend most of the time is in. And looking from there, one sees this massive wall, but even if the wall is covered up by raising the height of the hedge, the problem is it's right at the daylight plane across 43 feet long and 19 feet high. It blocks off much of the afternoon light. It entirely blocks the view that we have now of trees and the sky above it. So we would like to contest the finding in the report that it's designed to avoid unreasonable interference with views. I don't see how that can be considered not unreasonable interference with our views. We would also like to contest that this is in keeping with the scale of structures found in the neighborhood. We certainly understand the Sood's desire to have all of their kids on one floor. We would like to have that too. Unfortunately, this is a neighborhood where most of the second floors, in fact, all the ones in the immediate neighborhood, are very much smaller. This is a much larger second story than the other houses in the neighborhood, and so it's not proportioned with the scales of those. And we contest the statement that it's really designed to reduce the effectiveness of the bulk and mass. There were certainly ways that the house could have been designed, even with that larger second floor, to reduce that more so. But I say our main concern really is that it's completely blocking the daylight and the views from there. Now, Walter said that it had 2 feet further setback than was required. However, if it hadn't been set back 2 feet, then it would have violated the daylight plane, so that actually was not any concession to it. It says it will minimize the perception of excessive bulk. Some little things being done to that side might help a little bit, but the bulk is still there, and the bulk is what blocks the light and the view. Now, we were rather taken aback in the meeting with Mr. Chapman today, where he argued that if the House satisfied all of the rigid rules, then all of the qualitative considerations in the findings, such as whether it will avoid unreasonable interference with the views, or whether it's designed to reduce the effectiveness of bulk and mass, that those didn't matter. He also claimed very implausibly that it was impossible to make any change that would still satisfy the Sood's need. I went through things this afternoon and tried to sketch out some possible things, but they certainly could be done with very little loss. So what we would like to ask, which is what we'd requested the Sood's to do, was to ask them to have a continuation so there will be proper time for us to meet with them and meet with the architects and go over some of the issues to make some substantive changes rather than just cosmetic changes. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay.
I think you have my written note also, right?
Yes, we received that. Guido, anyone else? That's final for public comments?
Vice Chair Blockus, I believe that is it.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public comment section. Since those are done, we'll go ahead and have commissioner discussion. Who would like to start? Commissioner Ma, why don't we go ahead and start with you then?
Okay, all right, yeah. I was gonna start anyway. So, yeah, I think the concern are, my concern are already mentioned previously by other commissioner and neighbor. I mean, the design in part of it is somewhere is it's good, but somewhere that needs some improvements. For example, Commissioner Couric already mentioned about that the living room. I also have the same concern. Not only I heard that from Walter, the architect, that about his design reasoning for the living room. But however, if you look at from another aspect for the living room, the right side neighbor, which is next to adjacent to that side of living room, not sure what number is that. I think it's 51. Their play height, the street front play height is only 8 foot. And we are talking about proposed 12-foot play height here. So just right on the streetscape, you see an 8-foot play height, and suddenly, 20 feet apart, you see a 12-foot height, change. So that's a 4-foot height difference. And then besides, proportional wise, the narrow and tall, and then with a low window, that doesn't make sense at all, just like what Commissioner Curie mentioned. And then turning it around to the right side, that high wall, I think a lot of people raised the concern. I mean, should be some design, change to mitigate that, whether or not it's a shallow covered patio with a column or something similar to the left side. The left side is a pretty deep covered patio, but you can propose something smaller to mitigate. And then also, as the neighbor mentioned that, you may need to spend some effort communicating with the neighbor, especially on the right-hand side. And then as far as the rest, I don't have much on the bulkiness is if you see from street, I know the rendering looks nice, but in reality, on the left side, other than that covered porch, covered patio extended up, it's also it's pretty much basically a straight wall up, a 2-story straight wall up. And I understand from the owner's side, the applicant that they have kids, and then they want a 3 kids room with a master bedroom, which I understand. But there should be some other way for the design change to better execution for the design to carry that one out. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Harding?
Yeah, I agree. And I'm sorry that the neighbors and the owners didn't get together sooner on these things, because to me, that's always the most important thing, and the responsibility of the people who are doing the project is to make sure that you've communicated what you want to do completely and accurately and timely to your neighbors. So I think that this project should be continued, and that more work needs to be done.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Carrick?
Yes, well, I'm in agreement with everything that's been said thus far. I think the streetscape drawing on 1.3 or 1C really tells the story. I mean, we're obviously second story is allowed. We, in this day and age, we definitely see a lot of second stories. I don't think there's any objection to 3 or 4 bedrooms on the second story, but the way it sits next to these adjacent homes, to me, couple that with the color. I very rarely comment on color, but the white shingles, the white trim, it's going to really pop out on that street. The neighbor to the left, the home is very low profile, very soft, darker colors.
If I may interject, it's not actually a white shingle, it's a light.
Excuse me.
Ma'am.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. We'll give you an opportunity. This is our opportunity to speak.
Yeah.
So, to me, it's not only mass and bulk, but how that couples with color here. And once again, the scale of some of these rooms, particularly the living room, I think is out of scale. If, a couple feet off, a 10-foot plate height may be more appropriate. Somehow mitigate these 2-story walls. I think the back elevation with that 2-story element that just juts out there just adds to the, the length of the wall. I think there's an opportunity to maybe move the laundry room forward in the notch between the bathroom and the stair. And maybe there's kind of a stepping in that back elevation to reduce the impact of the wall. So I've seen design sketches today. I think the design is not resolved, and that's why Walter was, showing some overlays. So I would vote to continue this and come back with some specific direction to a design that kind of addresses some of our concerns, yet still meets the requirements of the homeowner.
Great, thank you.
Vice Chair Blockus, it is in the commissioner handbook to allow the applicant 5 minutes of rebuttal at your discretion. So
Correct. Yeah, I'll just make my comments and then open it up to the applicant for sort of a final say. I kind of agree with everything that's been said. I think there could be some adjustments or whatnot. I think the 12-foot lower, I mean, when you combine sill plates, it's 18 total, and usually it's like 9 and 7 or, whatever that kind of falls into place. So I think there is some working that can be done with that. On the flip side, I think the house relative to the immediate neighbors, I think there's enough screenage with plants and whatnot. I'm 6'3". I couldn't see over the fences because the fences with the bushes are tall, but I'm also not looking out from a 14-foot window looking. But it's one of the more private yards without a huge amount of landscaping that I've seen. So my gut feel is probably send it back for some little tweaks. That doesn't mean we're shutting down the project by any means, but we just think it could be a little bit better than what it was, and that would satisfy not only the applicant but also the neighbors as well. So those are my comments. With that being said, I'd like to open up for the applicant or their designer for 5 minutes for any responses to some of the issues that the commissioners have brought up.
Thank you very much, commissioners. So I understand with the living room dropping the plate height to bring it down more in scale with the adjoining property. That can certainly be done. Architecturally, I think it'll be less in scale with the house itself, because that's always the challenge. Are you designing the building to work with itself or to work with an adjoining house? But we can drop the living room down a couple of feet. We're not in favor of making it larger because they don't have a need for a bigger living room. It's just a sitting room, music room, So with commissioner's direction, what I'm proposing right now is to drop the living room down and add a covered porch on the right side to mitigate the wall on the right side. I'm also going to take a look at adding a roof over the carport structure or covered patio on the left, because by the same approach of putting a roof over each of those elements, they will again more soften the two-story mass of those side walls. I'm also going to talk with the owners about trying to get a slight increase in setback on the right side. I might be able to, without heavily impacting the fourth bedroom, gain another 6 to 9 inches from the right side yard, which will also bring the daylight plane down, the roof lower from the daylight plane. So I think I can accommodate lowering the roof where the daylight plane is, mitigating the wall with a covered porch, lower the living room, and add a roof on the covered patio on the left. And I think all of those things will work towards more of a wraparound look architecturally with lower level roof. So if that direction sounds like the way that something the commissioner feels would be helpful, it's a lot of work and I want to make sure I'm not spinning my wheels.
Okay, thank you. Does the applicant, him or herself, have any final comments? The homeowners.
Sure. Well, first, Commissioner Kirk, I'm so sorry for not understanding the format and interrupting. but I did have just a sample of the actual board. It's a warm gray for the exterior of the house. So the renderings look more white, but it's actually, it's a sort of lighter gray toned that we've selected. Garb, I don't know if you wanted to add, and I was hoping to meet and join this afternoon's meeting with Daniel and Walter, but I have, my sitter wasn't available at that time, and I have a 3-year-old who needs constant supervision, so I really couldn't, unfortunately, without childcare, join. But with further notice and hopefully with some sitter availability, I can, and not holiday weekends, I can be more available.
Great, thank you. I'll go ahead and shut off all the report. Any final commission comments?
None.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Well, David, I'm just, once again, whatever you add at the lower level is not going to affect the length of that second story. That second story wall on the right side is over 40 feet long. So, you know, I think that's part of it. What you do below, per your observation, that property is heavily screened, but they're going to still see the extent of that wall line above the hedge. Maybe not at the property line, but when they're in their backyard, you know, away from the hedge, you know, that's quite a dramatic, lengthy wall. So, like I said, if they move the laundry room, it'll maybe shorten the wall a little bit and maybe reduce some of the visual impact concerns that specifically the neighbor on the right side is going to have. So, you know, it's unusual that an applicant, you know, makes suggestions that says, you know, this is what I'm going to do, and we'll come back and assume approval. I would like to be a little bit more open and hear what other commissioners would suggest the applicant do above and beyond, and then, you know, go through the vetting process and make a good decision based on a design we can see in full in front of us, not a bunch of overlays in progress. So that's what I would like to see coming back, a final design that's been resolved and addresses other concerns other than that was mentioned.
Yeah, I agree with Jude that to continue it would give the owner and the architect a chance to work out what could work, and then to communicate with your neighbors about that so that there are no surprises, and then bring it back to us.
Yes, yeah, totally agree. I think the house, I know that the owner is very anxious, you know, to get this going. I totally understand. I was on the same shoe many years ago. However, if you take it back, you know, this is the house you can now live and enjoy with your kids for many, many years. So take it back, you know, talk to the neighbor and rethink about all options. Try to improve the design. I mean, spend another few weeks. You're gonna be, you know, appreciate that a better design, which you're gonna enjoy for many years. I think it's worth it for you guys to think of all options. I mean, I went through that before. So, you know, think about it, work with water, talk to your neighbor, and then make everybody happy. You know, you're gonna be, you know, enjoy the neighborhood and the house for a long, long time. Okay.
Commissioners, do we have a motion with maybe direction
Vice Chair Blockus, this is Guido. It looks like you guys are moving towards the motion to continue. I just wanted to ask a clarifying question. When Sean and I meet with the property owner at 75 Coronado expressed concerns about tree number 1. I just wanted to confirm you also wanted us to ask for a different species of tree for that. Is that also in accordance with the DRC's direction? I just wanted to ask that clarifying question.
Yes.
Okay. But I can't, the whole commission has to speak on that. So.
Let me take a look. Hold on just a second.
It was the neighbor opposite the, on the other side.
Did any of the commissioners have any comment or response to the question in regards to tree number 1?
No.
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 I don't either.
So I'm trying to understand. So you're saying keep the trees, or are you want us to work with them to find a different species? That's what I'm trying to understand.
I'd say work with them to find a different species.
Okay.
Yeah, so Guido, which tree are we talking about?
The property owner at 75 Coronado spoke.
Correct.
And he expressed concern, I believe, about tree number 1 and its impact to his solar panels on his property.
So tree number 1, the 50-foot tall redwood?
If you allow me to unmute him, I can clarify, Vice Chair Block.
Okay.
So let me unmute him. He's unmuted now. So.
Hi, it's a little confusing. There's 2 trees marked T1, and they are on the west, adjacent to the west property line.
Okay, so
those 2
T1.
trees, if they're over
Victorian box tree.
yes, there's 2 of them.
Yeah.
Those trees at that height will definitely block our solar panels
And our sunlight.
and the sunlight. Yeah,
Okay.
but hopefully it's a pretty minor change, and we're happy to work with the Suds on that.
Vice Chair Blockus, is it okay if I have Sean put up on the screen the site plan that shows
Yeah.
the tree? Is that okay?
Yeah,
Sean,
no, I
can
know
you-
where it is. I'm just trying to see it relative
Yeah.
to
Sean,
the house.
can you pull up the site plan just so we're all on the same page?
So it's mid-plan on the left, yeah.
That one? Okay.
Yeah.
There's 2. There's 2. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because the existing shrubbery is about,
8 feet.
yeah, I would say 7-8 feet. Which, as far as discussion with the commissioners, my readout of that is that's probably sufficient for privacy standpoint. I don't see a need for that tree, but that's just me. Any comments from the other commissioners on that?
I'd say just to have the neighbors have a conversation about the type of tree and the height.
Commissioner Ma?
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, there's I don't think there's any privacy concern. And then, I think this is just strictly, for me, this is just strictly between the neighbors, talk. It's up to the neighbor how they gonna, communicate for the tree.
So, Commissioner Carrick, any comments from you?
No, I think this is unusual that we're asking them to limit the size of the tree. So
no.
Usually we're going the other way. No, I have no objection to having the neighbors request to negotiate a different type of tree or that grows to a maximum height. To me, those trees look like they're placed there for an ornamental purpose because there's a pittosporum hedge along the, whatever that is, PT.
Yeah, I can't beat it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's pretty private.
it's and your observation, yeah, the lot is so private now with existing screening. I don't think there's need for anything that's going to grow big and tall on that side of the house.
Correct. Guido, is it appropriate to ask the applicant if they actually even want those trees, or they want trees at that height?
That's your discretion, Vice Chair, if you want to have that conversation now, or Sean and I can have those conversations offline, but that's your call as the Vice Chair, so.
I'd like to get it clarified with the applicant if you could say whether you want trees or not, and if you're okay with shorter trees or you want taller trees, just so we have it on record of kind of what the discussion was.
Sure, we are fine to work with the Saitos on any of those trees. I think those were recommended for extra privacy screening, but as you've mentioned, there is a lot of privacy screening already. And so we certainly don't want to block their solar, and it's no problem to remove those.
Okay. Okay, so then I think Guido, well, we'll someone please put forth a motion indicating what the applicant and the neighbors have indicated in regards to those trees as part of the motion. So I will kick it back to the commissioner, someone to put forward a motion.
I'll put forward a motion to continue SC 21-0016, 61 Coronado Avenue, with the additional condition that the neighbors on both sides would have a conversation about the trees, size, and type.
Okay, and then how about the house?
No, the whole project to be continued.
But any direction to the applicant in regards to what to do on the house?
Not in my motion, no. I think there are many, many issues, but I'd like to leave it up to the owner and the, I'm not an architect, so I don't have the specific recommendations that others may have.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second. We'll go ahead and have a vote.
Well, can we discuss
we
the
have a
motion?
discussion? Yeah, we'll have a discussion on the motion.
I think if we make a motion, it doesn't, I think we have to give direction. I know there's been direction stated, but the motion is incomplete at this point. So either we come back and amend the motion to give a little bit more direction on the architecture, or we deny the motion and come back with a new motion.
Okay, well, why don't we take a vote on the current motion, and if it doesn't pass, then we'll go to ask for another motion. So Commissioner Kirk?
Nay.
Vote. Okay, Commissioner Ma?
Nay.
Commissioner Harding?
Aye.
And Commissioner Blockus is no, so that motion has failed. Do we have a new motion?
Okay, I'll give a motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Kirk.
All right, I move that we continue SC 21-0016 to the next available hearing with the specific direction that the applicant and architect work directly with the adjacent homeowners on screening trees, specifically the type and height of those trees, and have some agreement coming back to the commission. I also would like direction, give direction to the architect to reduce the mass of the home overall, specifically look at the height of the plate in the living room. I'm not asking to enlarge it, I'm just reducing the height of it. I'm also asking for a reduction in the wall length impact on the second story. And that's pretty much my direction at this point.
Do we have a second on the motion?
I'll second.
Okay, let's go ahead. We have a motion and a second. Let's have a vote on it. Commissioner Harding?
Aye.
Commissioner Ma?
Aye.
Commissioner Kirk?
Aye.
And Commissioner Blockus is aye. So 4-0 to pass the motion. Guido, you have the motion?
I do have the motion, Vice Chair.
Okay, so The motion is we'll be continuing to the next available point with the items that we had mentioned. And that is,
And just a point of clarification, obviously we want to be respectful of the neighbors. So when we say next available, that's after obviously they've because the next
Had
meeting in 2
opportunity.
weeks, right? So we might not be ready in 2 weeks, right? We want to have a very deliberative process. So it's when we're available to staff means when things are ready.
correct.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to get it as responsibly, quickly through to where the applicant and the neighbors are satisfied.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, great. Okay, that will close out discussion item number 3. Do we have any commissioner reports or comments? Guido, any potential future agenda items?
Yes. Before I do though, I think the commission did see the benefit of putting up advance warning for the notice of development proposal. These next couple meetings are these projects were already going through the queue, but moving forward, you will start to see more of those notices around town. Sean's already had a couple of projects where people have put them up, and the neighbors have reached out to us, and that's really my goal, is to get the neighborhoods informed early and often in the review process. And in terms of future meetings, we have 2 items on the 21st, 1 item on the 4th, and 1 on the 18th. So that's what's coming up on the queue.
Okay, great. So anything else as regards to future agenda items that we need to be aware of?
No, not on my end.
Okay, with that being said, I will go ahead and close the Design Review Commission meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
See you next
Bye.
time.
Bye.